next breakout session is the luxury picker, Austin. We have Becky's Bazaar, ABL Reselling, Selling Dan, and Harry, our resale store. Let's go, let's go! All on the line. And back again, we've got Adam the Flip Room who will be hosting this Q&A session. Let's go, Adam.
First of all, let's make some noise for Lola for this incredible 4:30. Alright, cool. In which it's a short one. Let's get started. First of all, hands up. Who's got some questions for this incredible panel we have over here? Raise your hands. I'll come running over. I promise. Thanks for coming, guys. That's brilliant. Right, let's start with something easy. Last time I said, where do you guys sell? I'm actually quite intrigued to know where you guys buy, so kind of just by a show of hands, like predominantly, I'm not saying like exclusively buy, but let's say like car boots, like if you predominantly source your stuff from car boots, raise your hands. Predominantly, that's interesting. Charity shops? Wow, okay. Wholesale? Yeah, okay. And what about like contacts or maybe like consignments, stuff like that? Okay, cool. Consignments, yeah, those are consignments going, that's good. Cool, right. Hope that's warmed some people up. Has it warmed anyone up? Got a question? Here we go, starting off.
Hi, I'm Lisa from Kent. I've been doing reselling since September, so I'm a newbie. Question for Austin. Trends for 2024, men's and ladies. What do we look for?
Victoria, she's the one. So I would say denim. That's narrow, isn't it? Denim. No, I would do denim. I would also, I would say anything in Japan. I would say anything style, which would be kind of stylistically would be classed as Japanese. Kimonos. I know kimonos have been big for the last few years, but I'm saying like more architecturally shaped clothing. Izumiyaki. Yoji Yamamoto, people like this, I think is going to be real big. It is already, but I think you'll see more of it. Like I say, even in streetwear, like Japanese, even stuff like basic denim and stuff like that, the crossover with Japanese denim. For me personally, I think this is going to be really big. I think you'll find the whole kind of, for me at least, what I class as vintage, kind of 80s, 90s, 2000s, I think you'll see that through that as well. So like, you had the big boom in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think you'll see that resurgence again, but I think you'll find kind of heritage pieces made. Levi's are doing it at the moment. They're making pieces they made in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and they're redoing them right now. So that usually gives you a good idea of trends. And if someone like a massive company like Levi's are doing that, I would say across the board you'll see that through kind of higher end pieces. People like Margiela have started doing a lot of denim. Marni did the same. So my thing is either made in Japan, Japanese styling or styles, and denim.
Right, next question, guys.
Hiya, this one's mostly for Becky. So I'm a part-time seller. I'm Vienna. I'm sorry, I had to say who I was. And so I'm at university at the moment, and I think, did you start selling when you were also at university? I was just wondering how you manage that. There's so much like workload. Yeah.
So I finished my third year at uni, came home, and there was sort of like this pressure of what are you going to do now? And I was just like, oh my gosh, I have no money. So I started like listing things from my wardrobe, made a bit of money, then started casually buying to resell in the summer. And then that's when I sort of decided to go back and I did a bit of a panic masters, went back to uni, and then that's when I had pretty much like one rail in my uni bedroom. I also had a part-time job as well at a shoe store. So I was really doing it super casually, and it was only really when I finished that I actually thought about it as a full-time job, to be honest. Back then I really didn't think it would ever become anything. It was always just a side hustle, something to just get me by. But if you're looking and you know now, whilst you're at uni, that you want it to become a thing, hopefully, I just recommend putting it near the top of your priority list if you can. Obviously I know alongside studies it might be quite difficult time-wise. And potentially you could liaise with the university. I know they're always looking for small business owners, entrepreneurs who go to the university. They can potentially help you out with grants or a space to do a pop-up shop, that sort of thing. I hope that helps a little bit.
I'm actually going to go to Mason next, and that's not a question yet. But Mason had a great question for me, kind of in the middle, and I think it would apply pretty much to any of the panel, right? But
thanks, Adam. So my question is, what are your daily routines in terms of reselling? And like, do you have like a set amount of listings you do? What do you do to boost your sell-through rate?
I think for me it's best intentions that never come to fruition. I do have a plan every day of not necessarily a certain amount of listings, but a certain amount of work done, whether that be listings or research or sourcing. So if I haven't achieved something by the end of the day, I feel like it's a day wasted. I should really have more structure and more planning, and that's always in the back of my mind, but in effect it really doesn't work like that for me.
Don't ask me now because I'm the fraud of this group, to be fair. But back in the day, when I used to do it, I'd say you've just got to stick to a routine, get your 10 listings done, and then 10? Let's do 10. I used to be 5, but then I listened to the Resell Summit and I'm moving to 10. And just keep a routine of your day, if that was the question. Was that the question? And just keep, I think they said earlier, but relisting on eBay, delete relist, everything like that. Just put that through the day and then just enjoy it. Try and enjoy every day because you're on your own. Yeah?
If I'm actually reselling in the day, I like to do other things. But I'd say list 5 a day is me. A lot of people tell me to list more than that, but 5 a day is enough for me. I'll end and sell similar 5 probably. I think the thing that helps me most is probably I make a to-do list before I go to bed every night. So I have that in place the next morning, and then when I'm up it's straight to that. But yeah, that helps with everything really, not just reselling.
Yeah, I completely agree with the to-do list. I have like a big black book, which sounds quite menacing to be honest, but it's where basically my whole life lives, and if I didn't have it I'd be pretty lost. But I just write down sort of what I want to achieve, either for that month or that week or that day, and then work one by one through it. And just crossing something out physically really helps. I think when you know you can scribble it off and it's like, yes, I've done that, I think that's helpful.
I would say our day to day it can differ substantially, and that's what we like. As soon as the little one's gone to school, shout out Bill. As soon as she's gone to school, we usually got sourcing for pretty much half the day, whether it's the morning or the afternoon. At the moment with Whatnot, I will be honest, shipping is a mad one, so anyone who does Whatnot will understand the amount of shipping, whereas if you used to kind of maybe 10 or 15 parcels a day or even a week with eBay, it can be sometimes up to 150 in one sitting, so it takes up some time. And that's changed everything, I'll be honest. If I were to go back like last year, it's a totally different thing. And once again, that's not necessarily every day, don't get me wrong, that might be once a week or twice a week or whatever. But I would say the key for us at the moment is sourcing, because you can't really sell what you don't have. I think Whatnot for a lot of people, I think this isn't necessarily a shout to Whatnot, but in general I think it's changed the way a lot of us have started to kind of buy and source. And even for us, we never really dealt with much wholesale. We've done not only luxury designer wholesale recently, but also kind of what I call more generic wholesale for luxury items. And those two avenues have worked for us as well. So we add that to the mix, and there's just a lot. But I think source for us, that's what a lot of our time is spent doing.
Hi, my name is Alma. I used to sell on Amazon and eBay, and then I stopped and started back in April. One of the major things I struggle with, if you want to give me any advice, is the logistics on how to know what portion of money to put back in the business, what to pay yourself. When I've done Amazon, I literally didn't pay myself and then therefore lost motivation. And I just put everything back in because I was waiting to pay myself a decent amount. And I've read Profit First, so I'm trying to incorporate pots. I don't know if anyone's read that, so it's good. But yeah, just any advice on the back end of where you portion your money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so when I used to do it, I always put what I needed for the month, so I'm not bothered about what's going back into the business. So if I needed £500 that week or I needed £1,000 a week after, I just take that out, and then whatever's left is the fund that goes back in. I never put a set figure to anything, because you never know from week to week. Your cost of life would change, or anything could change, but your actual sourcing of your items and anything that you're buying can change. You don't have to buy it. If you've got a budget and you've got whatever you've got left in your account, that's your sourcing fund. And unfortunately, if you find an item that you really want but it's not within your budget, it gets left. And that's just one of those things.
I'd say that I start with working out the bare minimum that I need to survive. So things that are non-negotiable to me, like the gym, rent, food, all of that stuff, and obviously I like to eat. So that kind of stuff, that's non-negotiable for me. But then there's also the other side of it. I don't go to retail shops and buy clothes for myself. I don't go out drinking, I don't do things like that. So work out the base that you need to survive for your life, and then work that out, and then try and make more than that, and then you can put that back into the business or save that. But I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, I'm just doubling down on that basically. When I started out, I was to the point where I needed to get out of the job that I was certain was going to kill me because of the amount of hours I was working. So I was absolutely laser focused on trying to turn it into a real business and not just a hobby. So every single penny that I made, I reinvested, and that mentality is tripped over into now become to that registered limited company. So I only actually take out of the business absolutely the bare minimum of what I need. Fortunately, I have very low overheads, no dependents, so I can I don't need to take very much out of the business. As long as you can, the longer that you can reinvest everything you make from reselling, the more you'll see bigger steps forward. And I think regardless of the size of the business, that's a really good mentality to have. The more you can reinvest, the greater the growth you'll see long term.
I'm going to triple down on that one. But yeah, especially in the beginning, I reinvested pretty much everything I possibly could back into the business just to make sure it continued to grow. And even now, the same as you, take pretty much the bare minimum. Yeah.
Do you know what? I do agree with these guys. I think what they said is, what everyone said, makes total sense. The only thing I would say is, from my point of view, everyone's like, there's no real answer, and there's such a bullshit cop-out kind of answer. But to be honest, it depends on your cost of living, what you like to do. Like Harry said, for example, the gym. For a lot of people I know, gym is about, not talking about H&M necessarily, but in general it is a mental health thing. People like to go out to eat. People there's what people call basics and there's what people are actually basics. As I said earlier, when we were making no money and we left our jobs, we were pretty much, well, excuse my French, but we had little money, so anything we did have was literally food and rent, and that was it. And we lived like that for a long time. So obviously you need to put it back into the business, but if you're selling something, even if you've got it for a few pounds and can sell it for 10 or 20, there will be a little bit of income, there will be enough that you can pay your bills, and once you get to that point and edgement becomes easier, start putting more into the business. That's the most simplistic way I can tell you. Because there's anyone to say, oh, you need to spend X or 10X or 3X or there should be, you can do that when you're making thousands or hundreds of thousands every month, but until then, that's a harder question to answer for someone else.
Guys, so I'd quickly just ask, do you pay yourself a set amount, like the bare minimum, I'm seeing dollars, rather than a percentage of your profits? You'd rather reinvest the money back. Do you think that's a dangerous model? At what point do you start paying yourself a better salary,
Yeah, I think for tax reasons, the bare minimum is the salary, and then you take a bonus based on the performance probably of the business that year, is what I do, just for tax reasons.
I'd also say yearly is an important thing as well, as Becky just said, because a lot of people look at it initially, like I just said, your bills come monthly, okay, so it's very hard to look at a 12-month period when you're thinking to yourself, well, okay, that's fine, but I haven't no rent for March or May, or, you know what I mean, that's different. So I think it's very important to do your bare minimum. If you can put a little bit back into the business, great, you can keep that kind of flowing, but I think you really need to look at the whole kind of 12 months of the picture, and then work out what you can do after those 12 months, because the 12 months also, they will give you a good gauge, because you have good and bad months. But if you do after 2 or 3 months and you've had 3 cracking months, or vice versa, 3 crap months, that's no gauge for the 12-month period, you know what I mean?
Like Austin said, what people deem as necessities vary greatly. Because I'm now an employee of my own company, what I draw out of the company is a paperwork exercise to a certain degree. So I get a pay slip every month for a certain amount. It's the most tax efficient way of operating. But still, like I say, going back to the mentality of taking as the bare minimum. I think the whole attitude about money and seeing it as an asset, it's a bit of a tricky ground. I've always said that the money that's available to a business should be seen as tools rather than asset. So if you were to, get a takeaway, for example, in simple terms, that's 20, 30, 40, 50 quid that you could have invested in your business. So technically you're giving away the tools of your trade. So if you can look at the money available to your business, I'm repeating myself now, those tools, then that's a much better mindset to have for the development of your business.
Yeah, one mistake that I always made was I'd have a really, really good week and I think, oh, yes, I can take all of it. And then the next week it'd be absolutely terrible and I'd be putting that money back in because I need to do something or I need to pay eBay some sort of fees. So it's keeping that level bare minimum, tax purpose as well, is probably the best way to go about it, to be fair, because you don't want to be putting it back in again.
Cheers, right, over to Kaz.
What's the most unique item you've ever found, or your most favourite?
The army jacket. I paid 8 and it went for 2.3. £8, yeah. I did.
How much?
2,350. It went to Canada. It was a charity shop I go in 3 times a week by my gym. It took a lot of research. It was quite fun learning about it and voice noting various people that were also interested in it. It was probably a good 3-4 days of research. Learned a lot. Won't ever miss one of those things again. Learned a lot about tags, military stuff, and all of that. But yeah. £8 to 2.3, that's best sell, yeah, for sure.
I think mine had to be from Jason, shout out to Jason, big part of my life. But it was this weird wooden statue thing that I got for 50p. And I think it sold for 360, something like that. And the good point about it was that Cheryl, ABL Reseller, was adamant it was fake and it'd never sell, and then a week later it sold, so
It was like kind of trafficked a child to Romania once. About an hour. It was a child resuscitation doll that sold to, I think it was Red Cross or something like that. It wasn't actually. Yeah, no, I did. I'm going to edit this. No, I'm going to know that. Yeah. No, it's a child resuscitation doll. I bought it for £20 at Resell and it sold for £250. So somebody got some benefit of that as well.
Mine was like a vintage leather sort of racing jacket that I found. I think it was like £30 on the floor, literally mud all over it at the car boot sale. And then Fiorucci, you all know Fiorucci, yeah. They did like a collaboration with second-hand sellers, and I actually ended up being stocked in their store for a summer, their London Soho store. So I sent this jacket. And it was just funny looking at it because it had once been on the floor, all mud on it, and then it was in a London Soho store, all cleaned up and looking cool. So yeah, that's probably my favourite.
Do you know what a favourite I would say usually is anything that I can actually own or wear, because I'm a bigger chap, and let's be honest, there's not a lot of double XLs out there. If they are, they don't come my way. But anything like old school wrestling, I'm a geek when it comes to that stuff. So just, I got a 92 Bret Hart shirt from a boot sale, a couple pound. I just in my collection, but it's a nice piece.
Hands up, next question, so on the front now, so.
Hi, I'm Ben. I guess my question to you, Dave, love your videos. You're not shy at telling people you're a reseller or getting your phone out and researching when you're at a car boot sale. Do you think that has an impact on your relationship with the vendor and the price you get something for?
I've only ever had instances where somebody's pulled me up on it, about twice ever. And generally speaking, it's just out of curiosity more than anything else, if anything's mentioned. I'm very big on opening dialect with charity shops, with car boot traders, and it's opened a lot of doors. If people know what you do, I think it's been mentioned a couple of times today, if people know what you do and you're contactable, then it increases the opportunity that people get in touch with opportunities for you. So, even with, I know, again, it's been touched on today with some of the content creators where they've felt more awkward about filming in charity shops, for example. I mean, with charity shops, it's always advisable to get permission, but if you're in a public place, then you can film. And like I say, people are just curious about it rather than critical. In my experience, anyway, it's hardly ever a problem.
I have to agree with that because I've gone into charity shops before and they've said, why have you got that on? And I'll say exactly what I'm doing. And it went one way one time where they told me I couldn't do it and I couldn't release the video. But then the other way they went, well, do you want to come in the back? Do you want to see what I've got? I'm like, no, I'm alright, thank you. But yeah, so it can work, but also at car boots you would think, oh, well, he's got a camera on, I'll up my price a bit and I'll not negotiate with him. But half the time they just want to get rid of the item, so they actually don't bother doing that. They just want to sell it to you and get gone, and I'm not a negotiator, I hate negotiating. So I'd just rather pay the price for the item and know that I can move on. But most people are interested by what you do, actually, and like you said, a couple of times I've been brought up by it, but it's only out of interest rather than hate.
Guys, on that quick question, negotiation. When you guys are at car booths,
That's the best bit.
yeah, talk me through your, when do you negotiate? Do you negotiate? Like, what is your tactics around that?
Negotiate every time. It's all part of the game. People who sell at boot sales know the game. I've been called out in a few of my videos that I'll argue over 50, not argue, but barter over 50 pence difference. It's the sport, and I think it's important how you approach that. If you're rude and aggressive, then that's just out of order in my mind. But if you can adopt a tact of charm with it and a bit of personality, that's what people are there for. They expect to be bartered down. Even the traders, people longer in the tooth, they expect people to put up a bit of fight on price. So that's the game.
I just send my mum in and she can do it. No, I'm joking, but it is part of the culture, and I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, and then you just either leave or pay the other price.
Sorry, I'm the other picker who's in there doing a live right now, and she'll see this later, so I hope you enjoy this. But I hand on heart, I'm always willing to barter. I enjoy, like you said, it's like a sport, right? And they kind of know the dance, it's fine. If we see anything which is like you're like, oh, one of those ones, like, oh yeah, one of those. If you don't know one of those, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. If you know what I'm talking about, Bethany will give me the eye and just be like, oh yeah, go on. I'll be like, oh, how much is it? Just get it. It's like 20 quid. You could barter. No, just get it. Now the problem is she gets so excited that obviously they're going to make some money either way, but she kind of, there's that split second where it's like, I'd rather pay 20 quid than someone else grab it and while you're bartering, do you know what I mean? So I think there's that element too, but yeah, I'm off for the barter.
Don't barter. It depends, cost and worth, isn't it? At the end of the day, if you've got a value, I buy bulk, so whatever I'm buying multiple off a stall, most likely. And the fact is, they'll bulk it all together and they give me a good deal. At the end of the day, they'll say, oh, you can have that trolley full for 10 or 20 quid. You know this, 100, 200 pounds. What's the point in saying, well, I want a fiver off? A fiver's nothing. You filled your trolley, you're not going to put it back. So, and I think people respect you more. And what I've found, especially when I'm buying off of the likes of Jason, people like that, I know you might not know Jason, I keep mentioning him, watch my videos. But he then says, well, do you want to come to my warehouse? You open doors by not being cheeky, not negotiating. It's not cheeky, I agree, but sometimes you've just got to know cost and worth of what you're actually buying.
I'd say you just need to learn to read the room when it comes to the seller. It depends on the price as well. If it's £15, yeah, I might try and get it for a tenner. More time I'm buying multiple items, so I do the bundle thing. I'd rather just take a fiver off sort of thing. Also, if it's too cheap, I'll pay them more. And that sometimes raises an alarm, and they might try and charge me even more than that. But if they want £1 for a pair of shoes, and I know they're worth a lot more, I might give them £5 or £10. But yeah, I'd say that it does come back to cost of goods as well. Though your buy price is very important when it comes to what you're actually looking to make. So I do think it's important to try and get it for a good price.
And also, you can negotiate. I know I've just said I don't negotiate, but you can in charity shops, believe it or not. That might shock people, but ask the question. What's the worst thing? It's better in a charity shop. I mean, at the end of the day, they go for free. A car bill at cost and value, but at a charity shop, I'm quite happy to say that's up for a tenner. We take £7, and most of the time they will snap your hand off. People might be against that, but it works.
Hi, I'm Andy. Do you look at, when you're buying stock, how much you're looking to get back from that item? So Pete says about quadrupling, I think, is buy price into what you should be looking to resell. And do you look at a different value depending on what marketplace you sell on? So if you're looking to sell on eBay, do you look to multiply that by a certain amount, or do you, if you're on Vinted or whatnot, do you look again differently on that platform?
Yeah, definitely. I operate on Amazon and eBay, and it's all about the sell-through rate. Again, I think it's been touched on before. Your tolerance for margin is a lot more flexible if it's a faster sell-through rate than if it's something that's going to be hanging around for a long time. So I'm quite happy to take minimal margins, mostly on Amazon, for items that sell by fly out kind of thing.
You know what, I would actually say, up until recently, we did a podcast once talking about this, and pretty much it was 10x. So if you pay £10, you really want to run about 100, and that's generally because across the board we deal with luxury items, and even if it's, you know, 20, I don't know, £2, it would be 20. But to be really honest, since Whatnot's come along, I'll be truthful, it's probably more like 5x now, maybe a little bit less. The difference is when you're doing X amount of items, say as an example, 10, 15, 20 a day before, you can do that 50, 60, 70, 80, 150, depending on, you know, how many you've sold in a 2 hour span. So although you're getting less across the board per each item, you're selling so much more and so much quicker. And in that volume, I guess, volume model, you can afford to kind of drop that, you know, the amount of kind of the percentage of profit you're doing. So I guess it depends where you sell and how you sell it as well.
Yeah, I'd say mine is probably similar to Austin's. I want to 4 or 5x my investment. I don't want to sell anything less than £25 really. So I'm looking at sort of £5 items into 25 and then upwards from there, normally 4 or 5x. If it goes over sort of £50, £100 buy price, I'm happy to sort of double or triple. I might find an item that's £200, but I can sell it for sort of 500 after fees I've doubled up. I'm also looking at sell-through rate as well. I'm happy to take a little bit less if the sell-through rate is like way above 100%. But yeah, I think it depends on the item, the sell-through rate, the price, and things like that.
Right guys, hands up, who's up for our next question? I see a couple here.
Hi, I'm Nat from Newly. Resellers talk a lot about flexibility, like I think a lot of people get into it to be flexible. How do you, or are there any tips that you have for lessening the impact if you have to take time away from your business, like if you want to go on holiday or something like that?
Schedule, just work hard before you go and then put it on holiday mode and switch off completely. I don't know, I think being self-employed, resellers or not, I think it just gives you that flexibility, and it's important to remember that every day, that you get to do what you want. If you have a good month, if you have a good 2 weeks of the month, take the other. It's everyone, it's different for everyone, isn't it? Like, I value the mental health side of things and experiencing life more than trying to save a few pounds or like grow the business a little bit more. I'd rather take 2 weeks and go and make memories that actually last. So if I have a good 2 weeks, maybe I'll just completely switch off and go somewhere for the other week, or I don't know, if I have a good month, maybe put it aside with the thought that in 2-3 months in the summer, maybe I'll go somewhere and use that money for then. But it's a balancing act, and it's obviously different for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's about paying it forward. It's counterintuitive when you're in an employed position. If you take a holiday, if you're working for like a normal business, then you have to catch up on work when you get back. Really, it's a self-employed reseller, probably a self-employed anything really. It's paying it forward before you go away on holiday. But you can never undervalue the mental health aspects of taking time off. So if you have to bust your lungs to, I suppose, buy yourself 2 weeks in the sun time-wise, then it makes you more productive when you get back as well.
And I think it's tough as well when you run a business, because everyone talks about time off, but I think quite often when I take time off, I can feel quite guilty for it, which then becomes not time off. And also when you come back, you can feel like you've got like a hill to climb. So I think it's about finding the balance of, like you said, sort of pre-working. I'll often pre-edit videos, so all I have to do is just press post and then put my phone away. That helps me sort of find the balance of, okay, like things are carrying on, but I can also switch off as well, if that makes sense.
I actually think the flexibility thing, not just necessarily holidays, but the flexibility to even, I don't know, take the little one to the park or whatever else. Whereas if I'm working a 9 to 5, I think it's 9 to 5s, I didn't mean it in that respect. But for me, I'd work those jobs, and when I did do that, and I was working in London, for example, I was sleeping in the car. And just to clarify, not because I didn't have a home, but because me and Bethany were doing switch shifts. So she would start Gucci at like maybe 8 o'clock, and I would start mine at 10. And we would see the little one for maybe 2 hours to pick her up from her grandmother's, drive her home to let her sleep, drop her back at the grandmother's in the morning, and then go to work. So it was just a terrible situation. And just to clarify, I was working for I was with Dior and Bethany was with Gucci. So what I'm saying is the flexibility. Not the holidays are a wicked thing, and listen, it's all nice. It's very nice to have a break every now and then for sure. But for me, the flexibility is being able to do kind of, I'm not going to say what I want when I want, because that's bullshit. Anyone who works crafts, in actual fact, you probably work more hours than you ever did, 9 to 5, but you can choose then to have, I don't know, 8 hours here or 3 hours there, or however it is you choose to live your life. But I think that's the main importance when it comes to flexibility, because in reality, if you graft enough, you can always get that week or 2 weeks, or you can take a holiday in a year or a couple of years, depending on what you choose to do. But I think, like I say, I mean, it's a personal thing to me, but the flexibility is being able to kind of do a little bit more of what I want when I want, and whether that means grafting hard before and after, so be it. But that's the kind of way I look at it.
I just want to add quick, you can work it into your schedule as well. Like for me, I like to travel, but I do also like to hunt for stock. So like I'll travel Europe and I'll find stock. I'm technically on holiday, I'm enjoying myself, but I'm also still putting in a bit of work. So if that's something that like you want to do travel-wise, you can fit reselling into that. Like it might not feel like work, sourcing, but it is work. I have to be reminded of that a lot. Like I feel like I'm not working, but I am actually outsourcing. So booking a week off and going to source and make contacts and things like that can still be work.
The last job I had, I'm probably working more hours now, but I love what I do, and I genuinely feel like I'm retired to a degree, because I'm sat up here in front of people who've been in the business a lot longer than I am. I feel the biggest fraud ever, proper imposter syndrome. I think it's important to love what you do, of course, but it's also important to realise when you've hit your saturation point as well, and force yourself to take some time out. It's so important to look after what's up here.
I went back into full-time work, and my burnout was incredible because I was still doing 30-40 parcels a week and working 8 till 4. And what I had to start doing was just realising that, one, I had to change on my postage because I couldn't do it every day or every other day, and then just allocating a day to do it so that I didn't burn out. On the day that I thought, well, that's my chillest day at work, that'll be the day that I do everything. And it don't matter if it don't get done because you've got your wage coming at the same time. So eBay won't penalise you for doing it. It is what it is.
Come at it from a slightly different angle and just say be proactive about the things that you know will de-stress you. Take the time in the day to go for a walk, or take the time in the day to go to the gym, or they're the things that work for me, but it will be different for everyone. But if you do that, you're a lot less likely to burn out. So I think prioritising that stuff is important, and also if you need the day off, just take the day off. I know being part-time is difficult because you've actually got to go to the job, but if you're full-time, you can afford to take the day off. That's part of the benefit of doing it. Like, don't feel guilty for taking the day off.
Okay, I've got to ask, what do you think about the rise of AI and eBay and reselling? Because those eBay AI descriptions are terrible.
One person answer, quick fire, you take it.
I've never used it.
Certainly agree, it's complete garbage. It'll never do as good a job as you could do personally, ever. And I think it's a very, very long way off it, because it's hyperbole, that's all it is. It's just complete nonsense. I've used it about 3 times just to test it, and it's been garbage.
I don't use it.
Cool. I think that's bang on time though, right? So yeah, big shout out to all the guys on the panel. I just want to shout out Adam for being a good host.